Have you ever had that nagging feeling, like something is missing in your life? Like you're simply going through the motions, floating through the days without ever truly feeling alive? You wake up, follow your routine, go to bed, and then wonder, is this all there is? It's unsettling, isn't it? That sense that there must be a deeper meaning, a key to unlock a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and true satisfaction. But here's the brutal reality: most people never find it. They go through their entire lives chasing illusions, drowning in regret, and missing the lessons that could have changed everything for them. Imagine this for a moment. You're on your deathbed, looking back on your life. You realize that you've missed the point. You've been too busy, too distracted, or too afraid to face the truths that could have set you free. It's a nightmare scenario, but it's one that many people live without ever realizing it. The life you're living right now may not be the life you were meant to lead, but there's still time to change that. Today, let's confront these hard truths together. Let's break through the illusions and face the reality head-on. Let's start with a harsh truth that many of us avoid thinking about. You are replaceable. Yes, you heard me right. No matter how special you think you are, no matter how vital your role seems at work, in your family, or among your friends, the fact remains that life will go on without you. Your position, no matter how important you feel it is, can and will be filled by someone else. This isn't just about work. It applies to every part of your life. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you'll be able to start living authentically. Think about it for a second. We live in a world that constantly tells us that we're unique, irreplaceable, and exceptional at what we do. The world feeds us these ideas, often to help prop up our ego, but the hard truth is that this is a lie. And it's a lie that keeps you stuck, trapped in cycles of fear, ego, and insecurity. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. I learned this lesson the hard way years ago when I was working a job that I thought I couldn't be replaced in. I put in long hours, sacrificed my personal time, and convinced myself that the company would fall apart without me. I thought I was indispensable. But one day, without warning, I was laid off. Just like that, everything I had built my identity around, my sense of purpose, was stripped away. And guess what? The company didn't collapse. It didn't even skip a beat. They moved on, replaced me, and continued on as if I'd never existed. That was a gut-wrenching realization. It was a harsh wake-up call. I wasn't as crucial to the world as I'd believed. It was a pivotal moment that taught me something powerful. The world doesn't revolve around any one person. No matter how indispensable you think you are, the world, the company, the relationships, they all keep moving forward with or without you. And here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. This doesn't just apply to your job, it applies to every aspect of your life. Think about your family, your friends, your social circles. Life will go on after you're gone. People will mourn, they'll miss you, but eventually they'll move on. Friends will find new friends. Families will adjust to new dynamics. It's the cold, hard truth of life's continuity. Now, I know this might sound depressing, but it's meant to liberate you, not discourage you. Once you accept that you are replaceable, you can stop living for the validation or approval of others. You can let go of the need to be indispensable. You can focus on what truly matters, being true to yourself and living your life authentically. Life is not about being irreplaceable, it's about making the time you have count. And the only way to truly do that is to embrace the fact that you are replaceable. That's okay. And once you accept it, you'll experience a freedom you never knew existed. Let's talk about comfort. We all love it, don't we? The warmth of a cozy chair after a long day, the security of a steady paycheck, the predictability of our daily routines. It feels good. It feels safe. But here's the harsh truth you need to hear. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Yes, I said it. That bubble of ease you're living in is suffocating your potential. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that comfort is something to strive for, that it's a sign of success. We work hard to build a comfortable life, a safe life. We think that if we can just reach that place of stability and security, we'll be happy. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Comfort is a trap. It's the velvet-lined coffin of your dreams. It lulls you into complacency, dulls your ambition, and keeps you from ever pushing beyond your limits. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you grew as a person while you were comfortable? Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Growth happens when you're out there facing challenges, dealing with discomfort, and pushing through adversity. Look at anyone who has achieved something truly remarkable. Do you think they got there by staying comfortable? Number. They embraced discomfort. They confronted their fears. They pushed through pain. Comfort never leads to greatness. It's the challenges, the setbacks, and the struggles that build strength and character. Let me tell you a personal story. A few years ago, I was stuck in a rut. I had a comfortable job, a nice apartment, and a predictable routine. From the outside, everything looked fine. But deep down, I felt stagnant. I wasn't growing. I wasn't challenging myself. I was existing, not living. And one day, I realized that I needed to make a change. So, I decided to step out of my comfort zone. I quit my job, sold my belongings, and moved to a new city with nothing but a suitcase and a whole lot of uncertainty. It was terrifying, but it was the best decision I ever made. The discomfort I faced forced me to grow in ways I never thought possible. I learned new skills, met new people, and discovered a resilience within myself that I never knew existed. Discomfort became my teacher. Every challenge I faced, every fear I confronted, made me stronger and more resilient. It was the exact opposite of comfort, and it was exactly what I needed to evolve. The Stoics understood this truth well. They believed that comfort dulls the mind and weakens the spirit. It's the enemy of progress. The Stoics intentionally sought out discomfort and challenges because they knew it was only through facing adversity that they could grow in wisdom and strength. This is the mindset we need to adopt if we want to truly grow in life. So, the next time you find yourself sinking into the warmth and safety of your comfort zone, remember this. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It's easy to get comfortable. It's tempting to settle into routines and stay where things feel safe. But nothing extraordinary ever happens in that space. True greatness, self-discovery, and fulfillment come from pushing beyond what's familiar. Growth happens in discomfort, in moments of fear and uncertainty. If you want to achieve something meaningful in your life, you have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to embrace the challenges that come your way, face your fears head-on, and step outside of your comfort zone. That's where the magic happens. There's a seductive lie that many of us fall for, a lie that holds us back from reaching our full potential. It's the idea that comfort, stability, and security are what we should be striving for in life. It's a lie that keeps us stuck in a place of complacency, preventing us from challenging ourselves, stepping into the unknown, and embracing discomfort. But let me tell you this. Discomfort is where the real magic happens. It's where growth takes place. Life doesn't begin when we find comfort or settle into our routines. Life begins at the end of our comfort zones. Don't let the allure of a comfortable life trap you in mediocrity. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you need to take that step forward into the unknown. Embrace the discomfort. It's the only way to grow. The things that scare us, that challenge us, are often the things that lead to our greatest transformations. This is where true change takes root. So remember, don't settle for the comfortable life that society tells you to want. Go after the life that challenges you, that forces you to grow. That's where the real satisfaction lies. But there's another trap that many of us fall into, and it's just as deceptive: the future. We're taught from a young age to live for the future, to constantly save, plan, and prepare for what's ahead. We're told that we need to worry about tomorrow, that we need to have a 5-year plan, a retirement plan, and an idea of what our future will look like. But let me be blunt: the future is a trap. It's a toxic illusion, a mirage that keeps you chained to an endless cycle of anxiety, stress, and dissatisfaction. If you keep living for tomorrow, you'll never truly live at all. The future doesn't exist except in our minds. It's a projection, a construct that doesn't have any real substance. Think about it. When was the last time you truly lived in the present moment? When was the last time you embraced life as it is, without worrying about what's coming next? The future is nothing more than a distant vision, one that constantly shifts and moves further away as you chase it. You're living in a dream, constantly chasing a horizon that never seems to come closer. I've been there myself. I used to obsess over my future. I had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and a retirement plan. I believed that my happiness was tied to what I would achieve someday, in the future. I told myself that once I had enough money, or once I reached a certain milestone, then I would finally be happy. But guess what? Those milestones came and went, and I was still chasing the next thing. I was constantly projecting my happiness into some distant time, always thinking that when I reached a certain point, life would finally make sense. But the truth is, those moments never brought me the satisfaction I expected. While I was busy planning for the future, life was happening all around me. Opportunities slipped by. Relationships withered. I was so focused on what was coming next that I failed to appreciate what was happening right now. I was living in a self-imposed prison, shackled by my obsession with the future. It took me years to realize that the future was robbing me of my present. I missed out on moments that could have brought me joy, happiness, and fulfillment, all because I was waiting for the right time. I kept telling myself that I would start living once I had more money, more time, or more success. I was putting my life on hold for a fantasy that might never come true. Even if it did, it would never be what I imagined. The future keeps you in a perpetual state of almost there, but never quite arriving. I remember working insane hours at a job I hated, telling myself it was all for a better future. But every time I reached one goal, there was always another goal waiting. The future became a never-ending chase. I was sacrificing my present happiness for a future that was never guaranteed. How many times have you seen people on their deathbeds wishing they had spent more time with their loved ones, or traveled more, or lived more fully? Never do they regret not working harder or worrying more about the future. The future is a thief that steals today's joy, and it's time to break free from this trap. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew that the only thing we truly have is the present moment. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. It's our obsession with the future that keeps us from experiencing life as it happens. We become so fixated on what's to come that we lose sight of what's right in front of us. The truth is, the only moment we have is this one, right now. So stop living for some distant, imaginary future. Live fully in the present, because it's the only time you have. And then there's desire. It's another lie that many of us are taught to pursue. We're told that desire is the key to success, that if we just want something badly enough, we'll be able to achieve it. Desire is often portrayed as a driving force that propels us toward our goals. But let me tell you something. Desire is a poison. It's not your motivator. It's not your guide to success. It's a toxic force that corrupts your soul and keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of wanting more. It's time to wake up and realize that the things you crave are the very things that are holding you back from true happiness and peace. We live in a world that constantly tells us to want more money, more success, more possessions. The culture of consumerism pushes us to desire excess, to keep up with the latest trends and the newest gadgets. But here's the harsh truth. The more you desire, the more miserable you become. Desire is a poison that eats away at your contentment, leaving you in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. I've been there. I used to believe that if I could just get that next promotion, buy that fancy car, or move into a bigger house, then I'd finally be happy. I chased after every shiny object that society dangled in front of me, believing that happiness was just one more purchase, one more achievement, one more desire fulfilled. But guess what? Every time I got what I wanted, the joy was fleeting. The thrill was temporary. Soon enough, I found myself wanting more, needing more, craving more. It was a never-ending cycle of desire, and I was stuck in it. Take a look around you. We're bombarded with advertisements, social media posts, and all sorts of messages that tell us happiness lies just beyond our grasp. They promise that the next purchase, the next achievement, or the next desire fulfilled will bring us lasting joy. But it never does. Desire is a vicious cycle. It tells you that you're not enough as you are. It convinces you that your life isn't complete without the next thing, the next experience, the next success. But the truth is, the more you desire, the more you suffer. I once knew a guy who seemed to have it all. He had a high-paying job, a beautiful house, and the latest gadgets. He had everything society told him he should want, but he was never satisfied. He was always chasing the next big thing. He worked himself to the bone, neglected his family, and eventually burned out. Despite having everything he thought he wanted, he ended up with nothing, no peace, no contentment, no happiness. That's what desire does to you. It traps you. It poisons your mind and soul, keeping you from finding true fulfillment. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They taught that desire is a trap, a poison that blinds you to the beauty of the present moment and the abundance already in your life. True happiness doesn't come from fulfilling every desire. It comes from letting go of desire, from finding peace in the moment and accepting what you already have. Happiness isn't a destination, it's a state of mind. When you stop chasing desires, you start to appreciate what's already around you. Let go of the constant craving, and you'll find a peace that no material possession or achievement can ever give you. Finally, let's talk about the opinion of others. This is another trap that keeps many of us stuck in a cycle of fear and insecurity. We're conditioned from a young age to seek approval from others. We're told to fit in, to conform, to meet the expectations of society, our families, and our peers. We measure our worth by the yardstick of other people's opinions, and we let their judgments shape the way we live our lives. But let me tell you this, the opinion of others doesn't matter. It's meaningless. The judgment of others doesn't define who you are, shape your destiny, or determine your happiness. Let me share a personal story. I used to be a people pleaser. I cared deeply about what others thought of me. I wanted to be liked, accepted, admired. I twisted myself into knots trying to meet everyone's expectations. I wore masks, played roles, and silenced my true voice just to fit in. It was exhausting. It felt like living in a prison of my own making. There was one moment in my life when I had the chance to take a huge risk and pursue a passion that excited me. But I didn't. Why? Because I was terrified of what others would think. I worried that people would think I was crazy, or that I would fail and they would laugh at me. That fear of judgment held me back, and I missed out on an incredible opportunity, all because I cared too much about other people's opinions. It took me a long time to realize that the only opinion that truly matters is my own. Once I stopped caring about what others thought, my life changed. I began to live authentically, to follow my own path, and to make choices that felt right for me. The moment I stopped seeking approval from others was the moment I started living my truth. And that, my friends, is the key to living a fulfilled and free life. And when I started making decisions based on what I wanted and what felt right for me, and let me tell you, the freedom that came with that was indescribable. It was like I was finally waking up, shaking off the expectations of others, and choosing my own path. People are going to judge you no matter what you do. You can live the most conventional, predictable life, and they'll still find something to criticize. You can chase your wildest dreams, and they'll call you unrealistic or foolish. The opinions of others are like background noise, irrelevant distractions that shouldn't dictate your path. Yet, we often let them, don't we? We bend ourselves out of shape, suppress our true desires, and try to fit into molds that others have created for us. But once you realize that other people's opinions hold no real weight, you start to live more authentically. The pressure starts to lift, and for the first time, you realize that you have the power to choose how you want to live. The moment you stop seeking approval from others, you start living for yourself, and that is where the true freedom lies. There's a comforting lie we often tell ourselves, the idea that we can control everything in our lives. The truth: control is an illusion. It's a lie we tell ourselves to feel safe, secure, and less vulnerable. We believe that if we just work hard enough, plan carefully enough, and stay disciplined enough, we can control our destinies. But here's the reality: no matter how hard we try, life is unpredictable. We can't control everything, and the more we try, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment, stress, and frustration. I used to be a control freak. I had my life planned down to the minute. I had backup plans for my backup plans. I thought that if I could control every aspect of my life, I could avoid failure, pain, and uncertainty. But you know what? Life had other plans. My carefully crafted world came crashing down when I lost my job unexpectedly, and a close relationship fell apart. No amount of planning or control could have prevented that. Think about it. We obsess over controlling our careers, our relationships, our health, even our emotions. We live under the illusion that if we manage everything perfectly, we can avoid the chaos and uncertainty of life. But here's the hard truth: the universe doesn't care about your plans. It has its own agenda, and it's not afraid to throw you curveballs. The Stoics understood this. They taught that we cannot control the external world, only our reactions to it. The more we try to grasp at control, the more we suffer. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. I had a wake-up call a few years ago. I was at the peak of my career, feeling invincible. I had everything planned out: my career trajectory, my personal life, my financial goals. Then, out of nowhere, I got hit with a serious health scare. All my plans, all my control, meant nothing in the face of that reality. I realized that control was just an illusion, a crutch I had leaned on for comfort. Here's the thing: the more you try to control, the more you set yourself up for failure. Life is chaotic, unpredictable, and often unfair. You can't control other people. You can't control the weather. You can't control the economy. And you definitely can't control everything that happens to you. Trying to do so is like fighting the ocean. It's a battle you're destined to lose. Here's a controversial thought. The idea that you can control your life is a form of arrogance. It's a refusal to accept the chaotic and uncontrollable nature of existence. It's a denial of reality. True strength lies not in controlling everything, but in accepting what you can't control and adapting to it. Then there's another hard truth that many of us struggle to accept. Relationships are impermanent. It's a tough one, but it's a truth that we must face if we're ever going to move forward in life. No relationship, no matter how deep or meaningful, lasts forever. Relationships come with an expiration date. People change. Circumstances shift. What once was can dissolve into nothing. Clinging to the fantasy of permanence only leads to disappointment. I learned this lesson the hard way. I once had a friend who I thought would be in my life forever. We were inseparable. We shared everything, and I couldn't imagine my life without them. But then life happened. We moved to different cities, our priorities changed, and eventually we drifted apart. It hurt. It felt like a betrayal. But in hindsight, it was a reminder that relationships are fleeting. How many relationships have you seen fall apart? Couples who promised each other forever, friends who swore they'd always be there for each other, family bonds that seemed unbreakable only to be eroded by time and circumstances. It's not a failure or a tragedy, it's just the natural order of things. Relationships are like seasons. They change, evolve, and sometimes they end. The Stoics knew this. They understood that clinging to the idea of permanence in relationships only leads to suffering. They taught that we should cherish the moments we have with others, but also accept that those moments are fleeting. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's a liberating one. I once had a romantic relationship that I thought would last forever. We had plans, dreams, and a future mapped out. But then things changed. We grew apart. Our paths diverged, and eventually we had to part ways. It was devastating at first, but it taught me an invaluable lesson. No matter how strong a connection feels, it's impermanent, and that's okay. Here's another controversial thought. Expecting relationships to last forever is a form of delusion. It's a denial of the natural ebb and flow of life. By accepting that relationships are temporary, you free yourself from unrealistic expectations and the pain that comes when those expectations aren't met. You learn to appreciate the present moment and the connections you have without clinging to them. Now, let's talk about death. Brace yourself for a truth that's going to flip your perspective on life upside down. Death is your best friend. Yes, you heard me right. Death. The one thing we're all taught to fear and avoid is actually your greatest ally. It's not an enemy to be dreaded, but a constant companion that gives your life meaning, urgency, and clarity. It's time to stop running from it and start embracing it. We live in a society obsessed with avoiding and denying death. We're told to live as if we're immortal, to focus on the here and now, and to ignore the inevitable end. But here's the controversial truth. Death is the most honest part of life. It's the great equalizer that strips away all the superficial nonsense and forces you to confront what truly matters. Let me tell you a personal story. A few years ago, I had a close call with death. I was in a serious accident that could have ended my life. As I lay there, not knowing if I'd make it, something clicked. I realized that I'd been living as if I had all the time in the world. I'd been putting off my dreams, neglecting my relationships, and wasting time on things that didn't matter. It took that brush with death to wake me up to the reality that my time is finite. Think about it. How many times have you put things off, thinking you'd get to them later? How often do you take the people in your life for granted, assuming they'll always be there? We act like we have an endless supply of tomorrows, but the truth is, our days are numbered. And that's exactly why death is your best friend. It reminds you to live with urgency and intention. The Stoics understood this. They believed in the concept of memento mori. Remember that you will die. They saw death as a guide, a motivator to live a life of purpose and meaning. Instead of fearing it, they embraced it as a natural part of existence that gives life its urgency and significance. It's a powerful mindset that can transform the way you live. I had another experience that brought this lesson home. I lost someone very close to me. It was sudden, unexpected, and it shook me to my core. In the aftermath, I realized how much time I had wasted on petty arguments and meaningless pursuits. I saw how fragile life is, and how precious each moment with loved ones truly is. Death taught me to cherish the present and to live with a sense of urgency and gratitude. Here's a controversial thought. Ignoring death is the real tragedy. When you refuse to acknowledge it, you live a life of complacency and regret. You take things for granted. You procrastinate. You waste time on things that don't matter. By accepting death as your best friend, you gain a perspective that cuts through the noise and helps you focus on what's truly important. So, there you have it. 8 brutally honest and controversial lessons that can change your life if you let them. These aren't just abstract ideas or philosophical musings. They're powerful truths that, when embraced, can transform the way you live, love, and navigate this wild journey called life. It's easy to go through life on autopilot, ignoring the harsh realities we've discussed. But the truth is, living in denial only leads to regret and missed opportunities. By facing these truths head-on, you open yourself to a life of deeper meaning, richer experiences, and true fulfillment. Think about it. Are you ready to keep living in the shadows, ignoring the uncomfortable truths that shape our existence? Or are you ready to step into the light, confront these realities, and start living a life that's truly your own? I've been where you are. I've lived in fear of these truths, clung to illusions, and avoided the uncomfortable. But when I finally embraced these lessons, everything changed. I found a sense of freedom and clarity that I never knew was possible. And I want that for you too. Here's what I want you to do. Take a moment right now and reflect on these lessons. Think about how they apply to your life. What illusions are you holding on to? What truths are you avoiding? And most importantly, what changes can you make today to start living a more authentic and fulfilling life?